Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have utmost pleasure talking with President of the Polish Museum of America, Richard Owsiany.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to know what is your first memory of the Polish Museum of America?
I'd have to say it's not one memory. It's three. I have three distinct memories, and they're all different times of my life. Mm-hmm. The first memory is obviously the first time I was here was as a child when my parents brought me here, and the museum was much different than it is today. I think I was probably 8 or 9, maybe 10, someplace around there, and it was big for me, and it was like any other museum that we went to. So that was the first time, my first memory of it coming in. I remember seeing the Pulaski painting, the Batowski, mm-hmm. because that was also in our czytanka in Polish school.
Absolutely.
And so that was a very well-known image for me that I was able to relate to it. But everything else was brand new to me. Actually, I should say not everything. The Paderewski room, I knew about Paderewski a little bit. I knew about the uniforms that were up in the exhibit on the Great Hall. But other than that, it was all, for a child, it was just too much, but at the same time, there are bits and pieces that caught my attention. I'd say the second memory for me, the first would be also when in college I was running Polish Boy Scouts, and I brought my troop here of maybe 10 or 12 boys, and we did a game here. And we did a game identifying things. And at that time, we still had the ladies auxiliary who were here on Saturdays volunteering to be guides and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I did a game with the kids, with the Boy Scouts, with harcerze, and they had to identify Rosen's paintings, 2 of them, what was in there. And I had gotten at that time there was, I think, a booklet put out, so I was able to get the information of what was there. And as the kids are doing this, I remember one of the ladies, I think it was Mrs. Prugar, she came to me and she's watching us, and we're going here. The kids are looking at the painting, they're looking at the other painting, and she goes, "I learned a lot from you today. I never knew that was in those paintings. I never knew that before." Yeah. And I said, "Well, that's why I brought my harcerze here, so for them to learn about and you have to remember that you want to do something that catches their attention, and the Rosens are perfect attention grabbers for kids. They're perfect attention grabbers for kids." And then the third aspect of my first time is when I actually came back to the museum as a volunteer and choreographed for the summer ball the Polonaise.
Yes, I remember.
And that first year, there's a nice picture of me and behind Sabina Logisz and Ted Świgoń opening the ball, and it was at where we have the ball now. And so that was and that kind of brought me back into the museum, but in a different direction of being an adult and helping out and volunteering and being a part of what was going on here. And those are the 3 memories that always stick in my mind.
So for how many years you are with the museum, if you will count here first?
I would say, if I go back to childhood, well, 50 years, but the real start for me is always, with that Polonaise and choreographing the Polonaise for the summer ball, and that's the first time I met Sabina Logisz, and we developed a relationship, for
she liked you.
Oh yeah. I remember when I became president of the Chicago Intercollegiate Council, we gave we had an award like the Spirit Award we have at the museum, and we gave a recognition award to the museum, and Sabina was there, and she sat at my table, and we talked, and she told me a lot about the museum and about people at the museum and things like that. So it was a first-hand knowledge, and that really, for me, is like the beginnings of my volunteerism for the museum.
Amazing. And because it's a lot of memories in the Paderewski room as well, and I'll be asking for it, but what aspect of your role at PMA, as PMA President, you cherish or is the most gratifying for you?
That's a difficult question, because there are many things that are gratifying.
You're a volunteer.
I'm a volunteer. As our whole board is a volunteer. I would say, if I had to pick one thing that I was involved with, that's this room.
Yes.
this room here, for many years was ignored. It was in disrepair. The lighting was not the best. And it was shut down for a period of 3 or 4 years where we didn't let anybody in here because it was just not conducive. And working on the committee to refurbish this and bring this to the state of it is today, as you see it today, I think is very gratifying. And it's a testament not only for the Polish Museum of America, but it's a testament to Paderewski and the importance of what he did in the history of Polonia, in the history of Poland, and our kinship to him, and why we believe we need to promulgate and have this display, this exhibit of Paderewski for the public to come and see.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful room, and thank you for it. As the PMA president, what has been your biggest success to date?
I think, obviously part of my job as president and part of the job of the board is to raise money.
Yes.
And that's always, for any not-for-profit, the most single difficult aspect of being a volunteer and trying to raise money. And I think when I look back, when I took over as being president, our summer gala was successful, but financially, comparing it today, there's a big difference. And I think the fact that we were able to turn the gala around and make it into a financial success, as well as a success for our patrons to enjoy an evening of camaraderie, an evening of kinship and friendship, and all the people coming, not only people coming to the gala, but people who support us through the program book, as well as through the appeal, showing the support and working together on one cause and making this place successful. I think, the raising of the funds is probably the hardest aspect of it, but it's also the most gratifying because we're able to convince people to believe in us.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing is, if they believe in you, they're going to support you. Yes. And it doesn't matter if it's, $10, $100, $10,000. It's the support that we get of every single dollar that comes in here that helps us do our job and present and preserve Polish heritage and culture.
Thank you. What do you consider to be the most significant strength of the Polish Museum of America?
Well, two things immediately. First and foremost is the collections. What you find here in the museum. You look at the Paderewski room here of all of his memorabilia. There's no place in the world where you can find this. Same thing in the Great Hall, or the Art Gallery, or the Transportation Room. And if you look at the exhibits, that's the key. That's the presentation. That's what our motto is, our mission: preserving the past to benefit the future. And all of that comes into play in making sure that this place is successful, that this place remains viable for not only Polonia, but for American ethnic society in general. We are the oldest, we are the largest ethnic museum in the United States, and we need to maintain that. I think the other thing that makes this place successful is our staff and the people that work here and are committed to working here and ensuring to make sure that the museum is presented in such a way that it properly presents our heritage, it accurately presents historical aspects of our exhibits, and it shows that things that we have in this museum are valuable to our heritage, and that you can come here and find things that are not found in Poland, not found in any museum. When the president of Poland was here several years back, along with the first lady, they were amazed that they saw all of this here, and even the first lady says, "You have things here that we will never, ever find in Poland." And that's a testament to not only the people that are working now, but going back in the past, Hyman, Kania, and all the presidents and all the board members and all the staff that work tirelessly to make it what it is today. And it's not just in the last 14 years, that things have happened. It's the last 90 years that you take together that make the museum, a beautiful place to visit and a testament to Polish heritage and culture.
And another question, what's your favorite artifact?
My favorite artifact has got to be the pen.
The pen that
The pen.
Paderewski signed at Versailles Treaty.
Using the Paderewski's pen when he signed the Treaty of Versailles, it's probably my most favorite artifact that is here. It's a symbol of Poland's freedom. It's a symbol of Poland's fighting spirit, and it's a symbol of Paderewski, and that's something that no where in the world you'll find that. People have asked to borrow it, people have asked to make copies of it, but the pen will always be the Polish Museum of America's pen, and that's probably the most thing. I think there's also the second one, which is a recent addition to our collection, is when we received the Matejko sketch.
But you're connected with the doctor who donated
connected with the donor,
yes,
who did that. And the reason I say that, Matejko is also historically important in Polish history because he documented Polish history in his paintings and his work. And the fact that we have a Matejko here in this museum, conveys that message to visitors, and I think that's a very important message. And people learn. Not many outside of Polonia, not anybody knows about Matejko, but we have a Matejko that we can utilize to highlight our history.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for being a patient, a doctor, and for that. And if you think about the paintings that you mentioned, what do you like about the conservation that we go through?
Well, the conservation is super important. That's our job, is to make sure that not only paintings, but artifacts,
absolutely,
everything in this museum, it's our job to make sure that it always stays in good condition. And conservation is probably our number one priority. There are many, we have many things in this museum that are old. King's letters, Kościuszko letters, documents from 100 years ago, letters from presidents, all that needs to be conserved and needs to be taken care of. And conservation of our exhibits is very important and is indeed probably the number one work that we must do. We have a library.
Yes,
look
we
at
do.
all the books that are that in our library that has books going back to the 14th century. It's our responsibility. It's our mission to make sure that we preserve that, to make sure that they're in good condition, so that they last not for another 90 years, but for another 900 years. So that the generations after us will learn and see and understand their heritage.
Yes, and you are here as a volunteer president every week, sometimes twice, 3 times, 4 times a week. So you spend a lot of times with us. And it's very valuable, not only leadership, but also the support, because you do it in such a manner that we feel supported as the staff, and we thank you for it. My final question, but maybe not totally final, is what are your hopes for the PMA futures and its leadership, your dreams about the museum?
Well, there are many things we want to do, that I've, thought about over the years. In the last several years, we've done a lot of work in terms of construction and making, old places new again. One of my biggest dreams is to reopen the stage.
Oh, yes.
That's one of my biggest dreams. Not many people know that behind the Batowski painting of Pulaski at Savannah is a stage that was used during when the building opened in the 1913 into the 20s and 30s and 40s, was used as a theatrical performance stage. And I believe that would be an aspect that would be very popular with a lot of people having recitals, having concerts, different things, and we've had them here, but it's a much different feel when you're actually in a theater atmosphere, when the performers are above the stage, and as opposed to being even keeled with the audience.
Yes, and plus like we just finished today.
Right.
The Pulaski Day observations, and you received that medal with Pulaski on it today from Pava. And I just imagined today what it will be when the stage will be opened finally.
No, I have every confidence in the board, the staff, our donors, our members. That's something that they will fully support and make sure that that we realize that dream. We realize that dream. But again, the combination of not just the stage, but it's just keeping this building viable. The neighborhood over the last 30, 40 years has been changing, and it's in a renaissance now, and people are moving back into this area, and people are coming by here, and it's no longer it has become that destination for Polonia to come back to this neighborhood. This is the neighborhood where Polonia was born.
Yes, plus we have a lot of visitors during Saturdays and Sundays.
Right,
They're waiting for Thursdays. They are coming from all over.
Right, and so it's really important that we take care of this building. The Polish Roman Catholic Union, this is their national headquarters. They graciously give us the space here to be able to showcase the heritage. It was their initiative to start the museum in the 1930s, and they're one of our biggest donors, financial donors, as well as in-kind donors, of services that they provide through staff and through other things that help us be able to work day to day doing our work. And that's very important that we help them maintain this building so that we can make sure that this place is around for another 90 years and longer.
That's wonderful. And I was thinking that basically about the service, about devotion, to be the life member of the Polish Museum. And the donor, the volunteer, you recently donated part of your collection to the Polish Museum. So you enlarge our, not only posters, but also the documentation, and we thank you for it. And do you have any message that you would like to get across to the viewers?
It's important for me that we do our job to convey the importance of what role the Polish Museum of America takes in Polonia. I always say in Polish that the Polish Museum is our wizytówka for Americans, but we also need to make sure that Polonia supports us, because it is in at any moment something can happen and we could close down. We saw that happen with the Czech Museum. Other smaller ethnic museums are having financial problems and are close to closing as well. We have to make sure that we reach out and convince people that this is the place to support, and have people remember that this is about us. This building is about all of us, whether you're from Poland 50 years ago or from Poland, 5 years ago. Okay. It's still a picture about our heritage. It's a picture of us as an ethnic group. And we play a vital role in the ethnic fabric of Chicago, this nation, and throughout the world. I'm very happy to know that, to say that our work in the last 10 years has really put us on an international stage and brought in people supporting us from all over the world, especially Poland. Everybody sees the value of what is in this building. Everybody, from Poland wants to take part in what goes on here. They want to be able to do research here. They want to borrow artifacts for their exhibits. So we play a very important role, and hopefully that role will continue into the future, but it can't without the support of Polonia. And that's the key ingredient.
Absolutely. Thank you for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So hopefully you will be able to open the stage. What do you think about when it will happen?
That's a fundraising question, and that all depends on the fundraising. We're finishing, the sides of where the rooms that are to the left and right of the stage. Once that's complete, that's going to be the next phase of getting there. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we might be sitting here saying the stage is open.
Yes, we hope for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo.